At this point in the series, we have been able to point out that there are two compensation measures. One is the aptitude test and one is the adaptation. Now, in this video, I'm going to compare and contrast the difference between the two, the benefits or the advantages and the disadvantages if you choose to go with any of the two, or if your potential employer is asking you to do any of the two. So for the aptitude test, just as the name implies, it is an exams. So many people are familiar with the UK route where you have to write the CBT in your home country and then you travel to the UK to write the OSCE. In Ireland, both of them is written when you arrive. They will be pre-booked when you are still in your home country, and then you come into the country and take the two exams. But first, you have to pass the CBT before you can write the OSCE exams. So the CBT, to the best of my knowledge, is made up of 150 questions. Yeah, 150 questions, and you have to answer them, at least half of it. I think that's 75. So there are not many people that I know that have failed it, at least till this moment, because just as the name implies, it's like nursing questions, subjectives, objectives. Then there's like a little theory that you're writing which has to do with the maybe VIP scores, or the iNews scores or things like that, according to people who have written them. And then you have to pass before you are allowed to take the OSCE. So most times the CBT may be taken on Saturday, and then on the Sunday is when you were booked for the OSCE. So if you pass, you go on. But if you fail the CBT, then you'll be given an opportunity to resit for the CBT. If you take it the second time and you fail it again, then you have to go and start the process from the beginning to apply for recognition, get a decision letter, and start applying for jobs or book for the exams again. Then let's say you have passed the first part, which is the CBT, then you move on to take the OSCE exams. So the OSCE has 14 stations where you move from one station to the other. It has names like iNews, renal station, chest infection station, and stuff like that. Maybe if I go through the website, I might, do that in a single post, not in a video, just to list out. But till this moment, NMBI does not approve anyone doing like a videos or things like that to share it. Unlike you will see in the UK, if you search on YouTube, you're going to see many videos about the UK OSCE, but you won't see that with the NMBI OSCE because it is highly not allowed. Okay, so but that is just the nature of the exams in brief. So like the OSCE, especially the nursing students who are writing exams now, when you go in, you are given a scenario, assuming a patient was rushed in, a patient ring the call bell, calling you, complaining of chest pain. What are you supposed to do? So there will be a mannequin on the bed where the examiner is acting on behalf of the patient. So you're attending to the mannequin, or sometimes you're attending to a normal human being, just but you're not giving tablet like the normal person will swallow. No, it's just, this is what I'm going to do. So it's more of talking and demonstration with your hands only. So that is just how the overview of the exam is. So you have to pass the first part before you're allowed to take the second part. If you take the OSCE, let's say out of the 14 stations, and you fail 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and then you are given a receipt, you are given the opportunity to receipt those stations that you failed, not the entire stations. So let's say you failed 5 or 7, you're going to receipt the 7, and if you make it the second time, then you've passed. You are just waiting to get the congratulatory message from NMBI. This exam is conducted by a different body. It's conducted by RCSI. That's why most times you will hear people say RCSI exam, not really like OSCE. RCSI stands for Royal College of Surgeons Ireland. Is a very big institution. They have different medical courses that they run here. So they are the ones that NMBI is give. There is also like a school of nursing with RCSI. So they are the ones that control the examination. So that's that for the exams. So for the adaptation, in brief, it's a period where you're going to be working directly under the supervision of a registered nurse for a minimum of 6 weeks and a maximum of 12 weeks. Recently, NMBI made an adjustment to how it should be done. So you have 2 weeks of like induction where you are taking for a classroom study. So you will be given lectures in the is just as the classroom setting is. That's how it is. So you're giving lectures where you're giving like introduction to the school, introduction to the Irish culture, how patients are cared for here, how you communication, legal issues, the I news, things that you're going to be seeing in the world, and how the hospital you are working in runs. So you're going to be exposed to all of this, told where you would go if you have issues with payroll, issues with human resources, health, occupational health nurses. Different departments will be coming in to speak to you during these 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, one of the days in the 2 weeks, you may be introduced to your own clinical section. Let's say you're going to be working in the surgical department. So maybe one day in that 2 weeks, you will be taking the just to be shown around the unit, the staffs, and the patient. You just walk around and observe what the registered nurses already in the ward are doing. So after the 2 weeks, then the next week will be when you start the main adaptation proper. So you go, you'll be assigned. This varies hospitals to hospitals, but the policy is the same. So you're going to be working directly under every day. So while I say it works hospitals to hospitals, not only hospitals to hospital, it also differs unit to unit, because different unit does different things. Sometimes it could be that you have the same preceptor for like the whole week, or you have the same preceptor for 2 weeks. Sometimes you have different preceptors in different days, but you're giving a logbook, you're giving your induction book, whatever you're learning, you're writing what your challenges are, you're writing them down. So when you are resuming for your adaptation, the first week that you're starting, you have the first initial meeting. That's what it is called. So the meeting is between you, your clinical facilitator, and your ward manager. So in Nigeria, the clinical facilitators are the ones we call preceptors back home. I remember when I was in nursing school, each ward has a preceptor. So it's that same post that they call here clinical facilitator, so that the one in charge of clinical education within the hospital. So you have the initial meeting where you will set up goals. In this week, what and what are you going to learn? Okay, I'm going to learn how to take patient vital signs, record them on the iNews form, escalate it when need be. I'm going to learn the names of the staffs, that is the registered nurses already in the ward, know my preceptor, know my manager, know the doctors, know the healthcare assistants working there. Majorly that first week is more of orientation to everything, the day-to-day duties of the unit. So that's what the initial meeting is going to be about. They write out these objectives, and then after about 2 weeks, you're going to have the intermediate meeting. So the intermediate meeting between you, your manager, and your clinical facilitators, they are going to be looking at what you have achieved so far. They are going to look at the previous objectives to see if you are able to know all those things. They will just ask you a few questions. Do you know the doctors now? You know the nurses. You know how the clinic or how the unit runs. You know what you should do if a patient has this, even when you've not done those things. But at least you know that if this should happen, this is what I should have done. Okay, so that's that for the a intermediate meeting. They'll also ask you of your challenges. Do you think you need any further assistance? Are you able to cope with the workload? Are you happy here? Do you need more assistance? Do you need a one-on-one? This is the time for you to voice out whatever thing you feel like. Don't hide it, because many people hold on to it within themselves. They feel like maybe if they say something, they are going to use it against them. No. And at the end of the day, you end up not meeting up with the target, and this is one of the things that lead to people failing the exams, the adaptation. So if you have any challenges, you say it, and they will look for how they can help you so that you cope. I can say it with more than 60% certainty that there is no hospital that will spend their money to employ you and then have the intention of failing you. It's not just financially wise, because no matter how we say we help, this is business. Hospital is business. No business person wants to spend and not earn from what they are spending. So that's the intermediate meeting. The next one will be your last meeting. So the last meeting is when they will come. By this time, you should already be familiar. You should already be working with less supervision. So they are going to look through. They ask the manager, how do you feel? Do you think she's okay for us to sign her off? If it is okay, this happens within the sixth week. So if they are happy that you are comfortable, you can work without supervision, they will sign you off. Otherwise, they might say, okay, this is what we need you to improve on, and we will add additional 1 week, or we'll add additional 2 weeks. So this now depends on your performance. They can just say, okay, you will be extended, but they don't mention the number of weeks, if depending on how your performance is. But in general, that is it. So you have the three meetings. At the end of the third meeting, it is decided if you are okay to work or not. So if they keep extending, and it gets to 12 weeks, and you're still not able to function without supervision in the unit, then they are going to write on your eligibility report that you are not eligible to be registered, and sent to NMBI, and then they will now send you the unfortunate message that they cannot accept you. If you are not comfortable with the decision, you can appeal. You have the right to appeal. They will even attach all those things. Is there on the website. You can appeal and say, no, I did well, why am I doing this? Remember, your eligibility report, there's a place for you to sign that you have accepted, because they will explain why you cannot be signed off. And if you are also signed off, they will also explain why you can also be signed off, and you have to sign it yourself that you have accepted. So that's the overview of day two. Now let's look at the a little bit advantage and disadvantage. The first advantage of the aptitude test is that it is fast. It makes the process very fast for you, because exams is just 2 days. So let's say you came into the country maybe 2 weeks to the exam, just for you to prepare, and then you take your CBT on Saturday, you pass, and then on Sunday you took your OSCE and you pass. Registration happens within 1 week. Before you know it, you got your pin, and then you start working, you start earning as a registered nurse, and before you know it, your critical skills is applied, and bam bam bam, everything just moves faster. So within your first 3 months, you already be so relaxed, so already gliding through and mixing, and just living your life. Okay, but for the adaptation is very different, especially in some hospitals that insist, or in some wards that insist on you staying till the end of 12 weeks, even when you're doing well. Or let's say you did not do well and you have to keep staying 12 weeks, that's 3 months. So you're already in the country for 3 months without earning as a registered nurse. But if you are working as an adaptation nurse, you will be paid as a student nurse. So you are earning the salary of a student nurse. But somebody who is doing the exams is not earning all this period, a period of 4 weeks or 8 weeks, depending on how your process take. Or if you didn't make it, then you have to, because if you did not make it in the, maybe let's say you pass your CBT and you did not pass your OSCE, then you will have to wait for like 2 weeks to study, make sure that you are comfortable to take the receipt, and then you will take the receipt. So all this time you are not paid, you are in your house, you're on your own, depending on what your contract says. But for the adaptation, at least you're given the stipend. You can, pay your rent from there and then keep yourself busy, and keep yourself going till you are done with the entire thing. The another advantage of the OSCE is that, okay, let's say, this one is just my opinion, okay. Let's say you take this the OSCE the first time, you didn't make it. You take the second time, you didn't make it. It is faster for you to start the whole of procedure again. People do it. People that fail the OSCE, because they still have more than 3 months left on their visa, so they can legally stay in the country for the next 3 or 4 months to start the whole process of getting their document, doing their recognition all over again, and then they write the exams again. Most people, when they go again the second time, because you've already taken, where you didn't do well, you can actually ask them while you fail, and they will explain why and all those, and then you improve on yourself and write the exams again. It's shorter, especially if you have like support system that book the exams for you. Remember, the OSCE is 2,800 euro. So you can write it again and you continue your life. But if you were to do the adaptation, is very, very stressful. Let's say you're already in the country for 3 months, you have just 6 months, with that your initial visa and what the immigration people will give you when you arrive on your residence permit. You have 6 months, so you already spent 3 months, or 3 months going to 4 months. Okay, let's say 12 weeks added with, that's 3 months already gone, and then you have to start the exams again. And if you did not even prepare yourself that you were going to pass, maybe the stipend they were giving you, you started buying things and spending your money. Now you're looking for people to borrow. Before you know it, time is against you. And if you have problem with your license verification, maybe you've registered in more than one nursing board and one of them is taking time, or your license has expired back home and you need to, all those things takes time. But for the people that are writing the exams, if anything happens and they fail, it is easier for them to start and still remain in the country, get their pin, and then start applying for a job all over again. So that's like the major challenge there. So, but for the adaptation, the good thing about adaptation is that you are already in the system. So it's like when you are a student nurse back home, you are allowed to make mistakes because someone is watching your back. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to ask so many questions. You're allowed to behave like a novice. So by the time you have your pin, you're already grounded. You've seen many things, you're grounded. But if you are taking the exams, you are not yet in the world, you're still in the outside, doing the exam. By the time you're finished and you are moving into the world, that first few weeks may be challenging because you still need to do like an induction, working with people to get to know the world, because even when you're a registered nurse back home, things are different. So those are the ones I can think of off my head, that they are the benefits and the disadvantages of each of the methods. But however, both of them get you to become registered nurse here in Ireland. If you have watched up to this time and you have not yet liked the video, please tell me why. Help me like the video, drop comments in the comment section, share it so that many people will come to know all of this. And thanks for watching. I will see you in my next video.